Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Victoria Harvey, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Career Forward program here at Hiring Our Heroes. We are here today to have a really amazing discussion where we're going to be exploring careers in remote and hybrid environments. We are joined today by an incredible panel. I would love to start introductions. So let's start with Sequana Duncan, who is from First Students. So Sequana, if you wouldn't mind getting the ball rolling and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about First Student.
Hi all. I'm Sequana Duncan. I am the centralized driver recruiter for First Student. I'm responsible for all of the driver applications that come in currently for Philadelphia, Weston, Connecticut, and Plymouth meeting Philadelphia. I started off as a regional recruiter going to events such as this and sourcing and meeting people and getting them to apply. I'm also on the military recruiting team, which is why I'm here today, because my passion as a retired Navy E6 is to make sure that all of our veterans get jobs or start their secondary careers once they get out so that they're in the best place.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for giving back to the community. All right, next, can we go with Michelle Halsey from GSA AAS?
Hi, thank you. Glad to meet everybody. I'm Michelle Halsey. I'm here representing GSA, more specifically AAS, which is the Assisted Acquisition Services, which is part of the Federal Acquisition Services, which is only half of GSA. Most people know the PBS side, which is public buildings, or FAS, which is Federal Acquisitions. We're the shoppers for the government. I work for the human capital team of AAS, and let's see, I'm a third generation veteran and an Army spouse. And I'm super passionate about onboarding military spouses and veterans. We are looking at onboarding people a variety of ways, but again, transitioning soldiers and military spouses. So happy to be here and talk with all of you.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, next, can we go with Rodrigo Kent, who is with Johnson Controls?
Thank you, Victoria. First off, thank you to Hiring Our Heroes for allowing us to present today. My name is Rodrigo Quint. I'm the program manager at Johnson Controls. I'm also an Army veteran. I did 6 years in the military, and I've been with Johnson Controls for close to 8 years now. I started off with the talent acquisition side as a recruiter, and then moved my way up as a program manager for veteran hiring. Ideally, my role entails creating programs in Johnson Controls for veterans and active duty. So that's skill bridge, different hiring events, whatever it is, it normally goes through my desk. I'm helping veterans nationwide. So if any veteran on the call, this is remote, anywhere from California to New York to Miami, whatever it is, if you guys need any help, please reach out to me and I can definitely assist you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Danielle Carter-Johns, who is with Maximus.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I am from Maximus. We are a government contractor who provides transformative markets within federal government. We provide services to veterans, and also that's what I would like to see if I can explain more of today to you all. I am a federal senior recruiter for the talent acquisition team. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us today, and very excited to hear more from you all. So with that, let's kind of jump right into the questions. So our very first question today, we are going to start with Sequana. So we'd love to learn from you. How does your organization, First Student, really help facilitate a sense of belonging amongst remote employees, specifically because you are such a large organization?
Well, so seeing as how I am currently a remote worker, I can speak excellently to this because we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. However, I have never been to Cincinnati, Ohio, nor I don't even know what our corporate offices look like. All of my team is remote, so we have calls every other week, just to chat, just to talk about what's going on. We're in constant communication with each other, so from phone calls to Teams messages. They make sure that we have everything that we need to be, connected with each other. As a recruiter, I'm constantly in contact with my locations to make sure that they have everything that they need. So we make sure that everyone feels like they are a part of the team, no matter where they're located, because we're all pretty much spread apart, the entire US and in Canada. So we utilize all of our technology resources, and we try to have things throughout the year where people get together. I'm actually proposing a Navy Army football watch game in December, so that all the vets can, or anybody who wants to join, can like just get online and watch the game together, even though we're apart. So that's something that I really hope takes off, so that we can, have more events where we're just all, even though we're all spread apart, we can still, be together.
I love that. And kind of piggyback off of that, do you all do any meetings amongst one another that you don't necessarily talk about business? Like I know in the military, we sometimes call those coffee chats. Does your company do that, or is it mostly just meetings and then sometimes having cool watch parties like the Army Navy game?
So lately, I think we do some, kind of meetings where it's just you just chatting and talking, and then amongst ourselves, we'll just, call up each other and just chat, just about anything and everything. So it's a real family environment. I know that sounds a little hokey, but coming from the military, I really enjoy it because you really do feel like, people are there for your best interest, and that you can truly like be a part of something bigger. Because being in the military, you kind of miss that feeling of, knowing that someone's got your back. And I feel like First Student conveys that feeling very well, even though a lot of us are remote.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much. The next question is for Danielle. So, how can job seekers learn about military hiring preferences and programming or programs at Maximus?
Well, we do have a variety of links that you can see on our site. However, when you go on our website, you can really look at our markets. Our markets explain what services we do provide for veterans and their families, far as jobs, far as other services, transitional services, as well to involve clinical and health services in different locations around the U.S. For veterans and their families. So our website does house all of that information, and I can also provide that information in the chat as well. But if you go under careers, we have a veterans portal that I myself, as a recruiter, we can see who applies through the veteran portal, which is separate from the external portal, which is separate from internal portal. So that type of preference, we do look at, say, our internals, and then our veterans, and then our externals. So we have a level of site far as recruiters when we do our evaluations of applicants, because we want to make sure we provide employment for our veterans, and especially transitional veterans.
Oh, I love that. And it's always nice when you see different companies on their career pages will either list a direct contact that somebody could reach out to, even if it's a more generic, like military@companyname.com.
Right.
Or if you have a full portal, like what you were describing, absolutely a wonderful way to potentially get a foot in the door and meet some great people. Thank you for sharing.
Not a problem.
All right, Michelle, the next question is for you. So how does GSA make sure that remote and hybrid employees are given the same opportunities and standards as in-office employees?
Sure. GSA's kind of always been at the forefront of remote work. We've kind of always been in at least the federal space, always been ahead of the times, and offered a lot of remote work opportunities. And since the pandemic we really prove that we can still stay in that space. So there's not a huge push to return to the office. But, you know, we do have a lot of extroverts that want to come back into the office. They really value that community. So we do, like others have said, we do get together on a quarterly basis, and we make sure that we encourage all of our folks to participate in all the different like DEIA initiatives, so the diversity initiatives, participate in special emphasis programs and affinity groups. GSA has 10 different ones, so those groups are always hosting different get-togethers. So we make sure we balance it, because, you know, we want to meet people where they are, and some people they prefer the remote work and don't want to get together, and some people really enjoy it, so we like to balance it.
That's wonderful. Thank you. All right, Rodrigo, the next question is for you. So when evaluating job applications and resumes, how do you decide if an applicant should be interviewed for a job?
Oh, this is a good one. I'm sure all the recruiters, like, they have a long list of checkpoints. The first thing is presentation. So that resume that you send in, that you apply with, make sure your spell check is done. Make sure those little details are there. You don't have to put your full address, just put the city and state where you want to work. Different little things like that on presentation wise. That's key. Besides that, we're looking at keywords, qualifications. So fun fact, whenever a recruiter is recruiting for a role, they don't really know that role 1000%. They're not doing that role. So they're just learning what the hiring manager is telling them. They're not going to be subject matter experts. They're just reading that job descriptions, trying their best, and gathering talent for that hiring manager. So those keywords are crucial. So if you see a job description, look at those keywords that are on that job description. Say, okay, I know these keywords. I've done this in the military or in the civilian side, whatever it is, and include those keywords in your resume. The next one would be abbreviations. So a lot of service members, we abbreviate everything. That's not great. Don't put that on your resumes. If you do want to abbreviate something, spell it out at the top. You know, so have your, say, whatever it is, HOH, and then put in parentheses, hiring our heroes, and then you can start using HOH throughout your resume. But make sure you let that reader know what it is before throwing it in there. And last, I think, thank you emails, they go a long way. So if you get a chance to speak with a recruiter or a hiring manager, send that thank you email right after. It doesn't have to be long, short and sweet, send it out and put a time frame. Say, recruiter, thank you for today. Can I meet with you, or can I reach out to you in a week? Or can I reach out to you on this specific date? Is that okay? That way you're building that relationship with that recruiter and you're not falling off any plates. So those are some of my key points that I do when reviewing resumes.
I love that. Actually, that's such a good topic. I'd love to open it up to our other panelists. Do you have anything else that you would recommend adding that Rodrigo didn't cover? I know he listed some really good ones, though.
He did. I don't know, is there anything new to add, but one of my things I really look for is the keywords. Having your resume flow, make sure you look at the job description and coordinate your resume to that job description. Because if you don't have any experience that relates to the job description, you will not get past review from the recruiter.
And actually, along that line, because we are talking today about remote and hybrid jobs in particular, I know many jobs will actually say that a position is hybrid or remote. Do you all like seeing when applicants will actually share that they have experience already being in a hybrid or remote environment? Is that something that you would like to see on resumes? And this is kind of open to anybody.
It doesn't, for me, it doesn't, and for our positions, it doesn't have to be on the resume. It helps, no doubt, but that conversation usually happens when, say, I call and screen the candidate, or talk with the candidate about the position. It kind of get familiar with each other, see what your likes, see what and inform the candidates of what the manager is looking for in that particular candidate. So it's kind of a conversation piece.
Very nice.
I agree. Actually, I want to add to that. So something that I like to see on a resume, remote is perfect. Comfortable with hybrid, that's perfect. But if you're open to travel and you put that on your resume, that's something that I like to see, because that's a question that you're going to ask in the pre-screening. And sometimes if you have it on your resume already, then that just gets you one step further. Not everybody's open to travel. You can put how much percentage you're open to travel, 50% in-state, 50% out of state, whatever it is. But that's something that I definitely look for.
Thanks for sharing. Very good to know. Michelle, did you have anything else to add, or Sequana?
Yeah, I was just typing some stuff in the notes too about federal hiring authorities. My advice might be a little bit different from a federal agency perspective. Going back to the resume question, how federal resumes are kind of ranked is a little different than the private sector, or even for contracting work. If you're applying for a federal position, you're going to want to make sure your KSAs, or your knowledge, skills, and abilities line up with what the announcement on USA Jobs calls for. That's the golden rule. That's, if I could give one key piece of information, that's it. Make sure your KSAs line up with the announcement. Period. And number two is get familiar with which federal hiring authorities you might qualify for. As a military spouse, you probably have eligibility to be considered for direct hire authority under the executive order for military spouses. There are different caveats to that. Get super familiar with it. It's a couple pages. I'm going to drop the link into the webinar chat. If you're a veteran, that opens up a whole different other ballpark. If you're a service-connected disabled veteran, that opens up several different ones. If you're 100%, then that's something different. Or if you're even a civilian, a military spouse with a disability, that's a whole different conversation. So really get to know what you qualify for, and then really get to know what your experience is and how those skills translate to what OPM, or the Office of Personnel Management, how they qualify those things. They're literally called qualifiers. So I dropped some links in. Just get familiar with all that, because like I said, I'm a military spouse and a veteran, and I spent a lot of years really doing things the wrong way. So my passion is sharing my lessons learned. If I could go back to my previous self, I would say get familiar with what you are really entitled to. Start there so that your expectations are in line with reality, but know what you can expect in the process. So that's my federal hiring advice for today.
Well, we appreciate it because it is a bit different. So thank you so much, and for sharing those amazing resources. So Sequana, just kind of wrapping it up, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to any of that?
I did. A lot of resumes that I see are very long, like 2 to 3 pages. Shorten them up. I know this is not an eval. You don't need to have all the bullet points. It doesn't need to be that long, especially the personal summary at the top does not need to be worded like your eval section in the middle. It does need to be like that. That would be like my biggest thing, because as a recruiter, I don't have that long to look at each resume. And the first step is just screening. So if it doesn't make it through that first screening, it's not going to get passed. So you want to make it short and sweet and noticeable.
Appreciate that. And that recurring theme, pull those keywords out so that during that initial screening, these individuals can say, yes, this person has what we're looking for. Let's dive into it a little more. I love it. All right, so let's talk about now, somebody joins your team as a remote employee. What have you seen that makes people successful with remote work? So I know a lot of times one thing that I'll keep hearing is that, oh, remote work, I don't need childcare. I can just kind of do whatever I want. And I think a lot of people forget it's just like if you were in an office, just not physically in an office. Of course, it always depends on the job, but I'd love to kind of go around the room and kind of hear from you all, like what are the traits that you really see that allow people to be successful in a remote job? So Michelle, you're first square on my screen, so we're going to start off with you.
You know, it's really about trust and time management. You have to trust your team, and you have to be a good time manager. Yes, I work from home and I'm a mom too. This afternoon, I got my son off the bus. In between presentations, I run the new hire orientation for our organization. So I was with the Deputy Assistant Commissioner and welcoming all the new hires on. And I jumped off the meeting and I ran out to the bus and I got my son, who was excited to tell me about water day at school. And I fixed him a snack and then I ran back in and I got ready for this presentation. You know, you have to be able to balance things. It's the best of both worlds working remotely, right? It's a blessing to be able to do that, because otherwise, you know, you're in the office or sitting in traffic or whatever, but it's all about balancing priorities and managing your time, and trusting your team. So my boss trusts that I get all of my work done by the end of the day, so I have flexibility, but it allows us to have that great work-life balance. And again, another plug for GSA. We have a great culture where we can balance work and home life too.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Danielle, what about you?
I'm actually in the same boat. I am 100% remote. So that time management and work-life balance, you really have to be able to manage that. With me, I have 4 children at home. The youngest is 8 months. So I I definitely start my start my day early. Make sure I take phone calls at the times I have a set time to take phone calls. I have a set time to do emails. I have a set time to do sourcing. And I am actually able to log off at a reasonable time in the evening to start dinner. So it's and plus my husband, of course, helps out. But yeah, you have a support system. It's basically time management. If you can stay on top of your work and be productive at the same time with all the distractions in your home, you'll be okay. You can do it.
The time management is important. I love it. I love it. Rodrigo, what words of wisdom do you have for us?
So remote work is not for everybody. I'll tell you that. So when I went fully remote, it was a culture shock. I naturally like being around people. I like driving to the office and doing all that. So it takes some getting used to. It takes that time management is humongous. And it's a different type of time management. It's not a time management that you do in the office. It's a whole different type of time management, because you're around the house and you start seeing different things that needs to be done. And if you're not, managing your time properly, you will get behind. So I would say time management, also concentrate on yourself. A lot of times if you're working remote, you tend to work longer hours. So make sure you're strict on when you start, when you finish, maintain your PT. That's something that I try to maintain. During lunchtime, I try to go do a few minutes of PT, and yeah, that I would say those are the 2 big things on my end.
Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. And you're very right. It's not for everybody. Some people thrive in it. And then if you realize it's not for you, then you just know what kind of jobs to go for out there. All right, Sequana, what words of wisdom do you have for success in a remote environment?
Communicate. Overly communicate. There's no such thing as not communicating enough, especially if for some reason you need to log off for a couple hours, because like Michelle said, she does this and then she does that and then she does this. If you're going to be offline for a couple hours, let your boss know, let your team know, so they don't try to reach out to you. Because I have that is a big thing, because there is a trust factor. So you want your team and your boss and everyone around to trust that you are working when you're supposed to be working and not working when you're not supposed to be working. So you communicate when you're offline or communicate when you're going to do something. You don't have to give them details about, you know, I'm going to the doctor, just I'm going to be offline for a couple hours. I'll be back. If you need me, you know, send me a Teams message or what have it. But that's the biggest thing I've learned to be successful is to communicate at all times. Just what's going on with you, what you're working on, what you're not working on. You know, if you're online, if you're offline, because sometimes that little green button means nothing. You could have left yourself on Teams Messenger and forgotten to put that you're unavailable, and people are just pinging you, and you're like, I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm at PT. I'm at daycare pickup, something like that. So overly communicate and just be focused. Be focused on the work that you have to focus on, because it is very, as Rodrigo said, it's very easy to get distracted when you're at home and you start looking around and you're like, I could do laundry, I could fix dinner, I could do this, I could do that. No, you're working. It's just wait, just get it done first and then do something else. But you have to be focused, because you then try to do everything and anything and then you get burnt out.
That is all incredible feedback from all of you. So thank you so much. And sometimes creating that dedicated workspace so that you know you're mentally at the office, right, can help. I know for myself, I close that door, no distractions. I'm not going to look at the laundry pile or anything like that. So until it's after hours. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you all so much. So we actually are getting quite a number of fantastic questions from our audience today. So I'd like to field some of those questions to you all. So let me pull those up really quickly. And I would love, I'm just going to ask the question, and then whichever one of you would like to answer it first, I would appreciate it. So this first question is because we do have you all representing 4 separate companies that are currently looking to hire, will be at tomorrow's hiring events. We would love to know kind of what are some of the examples of remote jobs or hybrid roles that your companies are currently hiring for? Would anybody like to start us off?
I can go.
Thank
I can go
you.
first. So Johnson Controls is humongous. We're global. We're all in every major city. We're all over the place. So our remote roles vary completely. It could be IT, it can be program managing, sales, whatever it is, we tend to have an open role all the time. Regarding remote specifically, that also changes all the time. Remote role, a lot of jobs, a lot of specific roles at the company turn into remote roles. So that's something to consider as well. But if you look at our JCI careers page and just type in remote, you'll see all the remote roles that we have open, and it's skyrocketed compared to pre-pandemic. We used to have maybe 10 at a time. Now we're in the hundreds. So there's tons of different jobs at Johnson Controls for remote roles.
Incredible. Thank you. Michelle, Danielle, Sequana. Michelle.
Hi, yes, so assisted acquisition services. We do federal acquisitions with partner agencies. So as military spouses, I'm sure a lot of your partners work with our biggest clients, our Department of Defense, the Army, the Navy. So anything that they need to carry out their missions, they can go through us to procure products and services. So our teams are made up of our contract specialists or contracting officers or project managers generally. Those are the people that work to develop the requirements for the agency. So when they call us with a need, our teams work with them to identify exactly what they need and how to get it, whether that's working with in regular industry or with small businesses. We figure out the best and easiest and cheapest way to get it according to how, to responsibly spend taxpayer money. And there are contracts in place for all of that, right? So those are the contracting specialists and contracting officers to make all that happen. So those are the kinds of folks that we're looking for. It's real detail-oriented work, but ultimately it's customer service, right? Working with these partner agencies to fulfill their needs, to make sure they get their missions done. I always say the country doesn't work if they don't get these products and services. So it's critical mission work that we do, and we hope you'll consider joining us at the career fair.
Thank you so much. Danielle.
Yes, for our remote roles, I just put the remote, I did a search in our system actually for all remote positions. So that's the link to that page. But for some of our remote positions, they can be remote, but have to be local. So you have to be in the DMV area, but it's also remote. And then you have ultimate remote type of positions where you can be wherever, located wherever in the US. But so you really have to, put your location on there, because it could be one of those situations where you have to be local. If you're in Virginia, I will still contact you. If you're not local and it's an ultimate remote position, you could be in Florida, but I'll still give you a call if that's the case. So you really have to make sure your location is known either on your profile or your resume. But I've provided that link for you all.
Thank you. And actually, I'm seeing these great links directly to their company pages. So please go to the chat if you don't have that open. Go ahead, click on it, start seeing what positions they have that you might qualify for. Sequana, did you have anything that you wanted to add or share about First Student and what you all are looking for currently?
So we're doing a lot of business development because our bread and butter is providing school bus transportation for school districts all around the country. So we're constantly growing and trying to get new customers. So business development is a big deal, something that you can do remotely, and then inside sales, and then also customer retention, because it's not enough to get new customers. You have to retain the customers that you have. So we have those positions are available remotely, and then we have other positions that could be remote. My advice is talk to the recruiter and see if it's able to be remote. Now, jobs that are more hands-on, like if you're a mechanic, of course you have to be working on the bus. They haven't perfected that technology yet to work on a bus remotely, but a lot of jobs can be done remotely. I would say learn the art of negotiation and talk to the recruiter and see what can be done, especially if you are a very well qualified candidate. There may be an option for you to work remotely 6 months out of the year, or to have to only come in maybe once a month. I would say try that if you see something that you really like and you want to try to see if it can be done remotely at all.
Great information. Thank you. And along the line of that question, we have a lot of individuals that are joining us today are either transitioning from the military, or maybe their military spouses that have been out of work for a while, or we have individuals that have been doing something and they want to change. So they're looking maybe for more entry-level roles, getting their foot in the door. So are any of your companies currently hiring for more entry-level roles? And also along with that, do any of your companies offer like skill bridge opportunities specifically for like our transitioning service members?
We have something similar to that. We have the veterans or VES, Veterans Evaluation Services within our company. So I also put a link to that page as well, which explains what we do for veterans. If you want to reach out to our Veteran Services team, I believe it has the contact information on there. But that also, you can also talk to someone who will provide you some transitional services for you and your spouse.
Thanks.
So, and also the entry-level positions, we do have some of those as well.
Fantastic. And are they listed like actually say entry level, or are there keywords that individuals should be looking for when looking at entry level positions?
It doesn't say it on there, but it does look at the years of experience.
Okay.
If they say, I think the minimum on those would be 2 to 3 years or something like that. but we have a lot of training that happens with the positions. So, you know, if you have any questions for different roles that you see, please contact me. Let me know. I am open to pointing you in the right direction.
We appreciate it. And I've been seeing y'all's email addresses in the chat too, which participants, that is a gift. Not many people give their email addresses, especially if they're part of the recruiting team. So make sure that you take note of that, send thank yous, and then start those great conversations with our panelists. But Michelle, Sequana, Rodrigo, do you all have entry-level positions? Are they listed as such? Or should we be looking for other clues when looking at job opportunities?
So a couple answers for that. GSA has several entry-level programs. There are several different routes to go on this journey. You could be, again, military spouse hiring authority and go into it. You could be a recent grad if you use, GI Bill or however you get your degree. You have 2 years after you complete it. So recent grad doesn't mean, I just graduated last month. It can be within 2 years. You can qualify for GS7 with your bachelor's degree. You can qualify for GS9 with your graduate degree. And some of our entry-level programs, they start off entry-level, but their career ladders to GS11 and then promotion potential to GS12. So they're pretty quick ladders up to mid-management level, truly. There's a program called FAS 360, where you get to rotate through different parts of the Federal Acquisition Service to kind of test out, which areas you might enjoy. So that's one way in. That they recruit twice a year. They're usually around college graduation because they initially intended to recruit traditional college graduates, but then they're leaning more and more toward military recruitment. And then, of course, AAS, I'll plug our portfolio. We're developing a skill bridge program where I'm hoping, fingers crossed, not official yet, unofficial, that we can fill up an entire cohort of contracting professionals with skill bridge or transitioning military personnel or military spouses. So people who want to learn the federal acquisition life cycle and be a part of that contracting team. It's not for everybody. Like I said, it's very detail oriented and very customer service based, working with partner agencies, but it's in high demand. So if you're interested at all, again, reach out to us because we are developing this program. It would be similar to the Copper Cap program. I don't know if people have heard of Copper Cap. It's the Air Force program. It's pretty exclusive, but they do federal contracting as well. So it's going to be kind of our version unofficially. So lots of ways to get into the federal, if you're interested in continuing your service or joining, federal service, federal civilian service, lots of ways in. If you, again, do your homework and learn what you're eligible for so you can find the easiest route in instead of, joining the competitiveness that is USA Jobs. There are other ways. So if you have any questions about what you might qualify for, because everybody's background is a little different, you might be eligible for multiple hiring authorities. Reach out to my team. We're happy to educate.
Thank you. Rodrigo, did I see you unmute earlier?
Yes. So for entry-level roles, we do have a lot of entry-level roles. They're not always listed, how Danielle was saying. You would have to look at the year's experience. Some roles will list entry-level, but I'll warn you, we have a lot of applicants. Whenever we list entry-level, it's just tons of applicants. So reach out to me. Send me your resume, say, Rodrigo, I applied for this specific role. There's a job number, anything you can do to help me out. And I'll make sure I'll send that over to the hiring manager. While I'm in that topic, while we're all sharing our information, our email addresses, we get a lot of emails from veterans. I would imagine after this, we're gonna get even more. So you make sure that your name and your resume gets put on a spotlight. I recommend whenever you do go to a job site, whatever, Johnson Controls, GSA, whatever it is, get that job number, put it in the subject line, say your name in the subject line, veteran from Hiring Our Heroes, whatever it is, and then do a proper introduction on your email. because the chances are we can easily forward that to the hiring manager or the recruiter, but we're not always going to get to you. It's there's a long line behind you guys on trying to get spotlights at any company. So that's just a fun fact. And for SkillBridge, yes. So if you type in SkillBridge on our job site, you will see some SkillBridge. It's fairly new at Johnson Controls. We're doing kind of one-offs and kind of doing a pilot, but we are opening it up to technicians. So you'll see that on the JCI website. But if you do see a role on the JCI career site and you think that would be a good role for you to do SkillBridge, shoot me an email. Say, Rodrigo, I get out in December of 2023. I'm eligible for SkillBridge. This is the role that I'm interested in. Would there be a possibility? A lot of managers don't know what SkillBridge are or what SkillBridge is. So my job is to educate those managers, and I can say, hey, we have a service member that's eligible to start in December. Would you be open to opening up SkillBridge? And I've had success on converting those full-time roles into SkillBridge and then bringing a service member in. So just because it's not listed as SkillBridge doesn't mean that's the end of the road.
Thank you. And Sequana, I am seeing that you're actually listed entry-level jobs in the chat. And if individuals are interested in SkillBridge, they can reach out to you directly. Thank you so much.
Yes, my little fingers were just going. So we just got approved for SkillBridge last week. So very excited for that. It was a long, Michelle, Rodrigo, Danielle, y'all probably know it is a long and arduous process for SkillBridge. And then we're also working on our MSEP, which is the military spouse program as well. So as soon as that's approved, we'll be promoting that as well. But for right now, as far as entry-level positions, we have a lot of manager and training positions. They're mostly the campus recruiting mostly does that one, going out to the college campuses. But of course, military members, you have degrees, you have associates, you probably have degrees that you don't even know that you have based on your military experience. So if you see something that interests you, if you want to enter the manager and training program, it's not virtual because you'll be training to be a manager of one of the locations. So you'll have to pretty much know everything about the transportation industry as a whole. So you have to be there, but it is a way to get into the company if you want to try to look at some of those entry-level positions. And then other positions that we have that are entry-level, they're technicians, sales, customer service, those kind of things.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I'm putting this plug again because our attendees, getting email addresses to individuals who understand the military experience, who want to help you and are part of the hiring world is not the easiest thing. And our amazing panelists are sharing their email addresses in the chat with you. They're telling you to contact them directly. So take them up on it, but definitely make sure you do those good introductions, highlight the skills you have, kind of what you're wanting to do, make sure that you do your research. But sounds like we have 4 incredible allies here that definitely want to help. So start taking those notes from the chat. All right, the next question I would like, I'm a military spouse and I have lived overseas for most of my spouse's military service. And I know one thing that really draws people to remote work or potential hybrid, depending on the company, is portability. Because it gets tiring every time that your spouse gets orders that you have to stop what you're doing, look for a new job as you're getting settled in a new location. So with remote jobs being much more prevalent now than they have ever been before, do your companies allow positions to kind of travel with individuals? So again, let's say a military spouse who's still tied to an active duty member. Would anybody like to start us off?
I can go.
Especially, yes.
So if you're a remote role, it doesn't matter where you are. If your manager knows that you're reporting from 8 to 5 Eastern time and you maintain that 8 to 5 Eastern time, then it's fine. I don't see a problem, and I don't think any manager would have an issue with that at Johnson Controls. Again, every team is a little bit different, but as long as you're open with your manager and say, look, I am a military spouse, my husband or wife is going to be relocating soon. Are you okay with this? And I don't see a problem with it.
Great. Danielle, I see you unmuted. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, we had those type of situations where either the veterans or the spouses, if you can do the Eastern Standard Time, normally managers are saying okay. Some of them have a preference for you to be on Eastern Standard Time zone, even if they're not, just for the client, because like I work on a federal team, so most of our federal um, clients are on Eastern Standard. So that 8 to 5, yeah, you need to be on that time zone. But if you're willing to wake up, if you're in California, you wake up 3 hours early, that's on you. um, so, but it's all on if you want the job or not.
Saquana, did I see you unmute?
I did, but I was just gonna basically say what Rodrigo and Danielle just said. Like it's based on if you can make those hours. So however you make it happen, make it happen.
I was going to
And
say the
Michelle.
same thing. Somebody asked in the question and answer chat as well, about moving OCONUS and getting orders. And, we do have some client-based services that take place in Europe. We're a national program, so we're everywhere. So we don't care where our people sit. Our teams are integrated project teams. They work core hours, like everybody's saying, like an 8 to 4 kind of flex time. For federal employment, the main concern would be locality pay. You have to get approval to move someplace more expensive, obviously. That would be the only thing holding anything up, but otherwise, we don't care where you work. What your home base looks like, as long as that pre-approval takes place.
I appreciate that. Thank you all so much. Now I wanted to ask, we're going to go back to the hiring process. Somebody was asking this question. Is the hiring process different for your companies if you're looking to hire somebody in person for an in-person job versus somebody that you're looking to hire for a remote position? Or is it basically the same process?
It's the same process. It's just you will go in, you'll be scheduled to go into the location to meet with the manager as opposed to sending a Teams link for interview, a virtual interview. But everything is pretty much the same process.
Sounds good.
I would say just get familiar with DocuSign, because if you're virtual and you're going to get a lot of documents to sign via DocuSign. So just that's really the only difference. I've done interviews in person and then we switched to remote. And the only real difference is I'm using DocuSign instead of having them sign and dated in front of me.
Thanks.
I agree. On my end, it would be the same as well, but I do adjust my questions whenever I am pre-screening candidates. If it is a full-time remote, then I ask specific questions on time management, organization skills, examples on that. So just be ready for that. If nobody asks you that, then make sure you tell them, like, I'm open to remote and this is my time management skills. This is how I've been doing things. Give examples, especially for remote roles, because you're going to have a lot of candidates apply for those roles, by the way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And for federal employment, make sure if you're looking at an announcement, pay attention to whether or not it says that the job is fully remote or not, and be aware of that when you come to the interview, because the interview will be tailored to that as well, because some jobs are classified as able, as Saquana said earlier. Some jobs can be done remotely and some cannot be done, so that that'll make a huge difference in the interview questions as well.
Thank you all so much. And just having gone through a round of interviews myself for our team, don't forget, dress appropriately, even if it's a virtual interview as well. It's sometimes very surprising how relaxed people feel that they can be behind a screen. So definitely, and I'm seeing some head nods across the way here. So just like you would in person, make sure that you are dressed appropriately. Saquana, were you coming off mute?
Yes, I was in relation to that. Yes, even if it's a virtual interview, please dress appropriately and please do not be walking, driving, cooking breakfast during your virtual interview.
It almost sounds like a joke, but I'm sure every one of us has seen some version of that or worse. So, well, thank you. Rodrigo, were you off mute?
I had left myself on mute, but yes,
Okay.
definitely the location is key. Don't be at the store. That happened to me a few times. Don't do that. Presentation is key, always.
I love
First
it.
impressions.
Pardon?
First impressions.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. I make a big deal for sure. Well, as we prepare for tomorrow's virtual hiring event, I would love for you all to share how can job seekers make the most out of these events, make a good first impression when meeting somebody, because sometimes it could be a chat or it could be a video, whomever you're chatting with, that company, how they have it set up. So if you've been to virtual hiring events, what have you seen that have really made candidates stand out in a good way? Or maybe even sharing, please don't do this. So that as they meet you all tomorrow, they can really stand out as a candidate that you might want to follow up with.
I can go for this one. Do your homework, please. If you get on a virtual career site or a job fair and you ask them, oh, what roles are open for me? That's not the right answer. There's a lot of candidates at the job fair that have done their homework, and those conversations go by very fast. They go exactly, this is the job I want, this is the job number, what do I need to do? And then you just tell them exactly what needs to happen. But if you don't do your homework and you come off that you didn't do anything, they didn't even look at the career site or don't know the company, you're not going to make the list.
I would first, I totally agree, Rodrigo, completely. Before you attend a career event, look at the jobs or look at the list of employees. Employers or companies that's going to be there. Look at their job sites, look at their career lists. If any of those positions interest you, make sure you have that list with you when you go to the job fair or career event. Be prepared to ask the questions. Please do not hand the recruiter your resume and say, what do I qualify for? I am not the recruiter for all positions, Maximus. I am a civilian. I do not understand the military lingo all the time. Some things are familiar, but a lot of things are not. So I'm going to be asking you questions because I don't know, but tell me what you're looking for. I can better tell you what we have from there. So just like Rodrigo said, please do your homework.
Sensing a theme here. I love it. Michelle or Shaquana, do you have any feedback or advice?
Yeah, I'll echo exactly what they said. Prepare a list of which companies you're actually interested in, and which jobs they're offering that you're actually interested in, and then come prepared with a short elevator speech, introducing yourself and your top 3 key strengths. What do you bring to the team? And your top 3 questions. What do you want to know about our team? Because we love to talk about our teams. We're experts about what we do and what we're looking for. But like Danielle said, I don't know every single job that GSA has, but I can tell you GSA is the best agency to work for, and I can tell you why. So if you tell me why you're so great, and I tell you why we're so great, we can figure out a good match. So just be ready to have a brief conversation with the jobs that, like Rodrigo said, that you actually want. So everybody's prepared and we can make it easy conversations, and hopefully you can get your dream job pretty easily.
Thanks.
So I wanted to also add, be prepared you may end up getting a short interview at the job fair. So just be prepared for that because you never know, you may actually run into the recruiter for the job that you are searching for. because we all have to, we all attend events from time to time. So you're not sure who you're going to run into. And then the other thing is, as far as tomorrow's event, if you haven't already picked, if you haven't already looked at the booths and seen what companies you want to look at, we have scheduled slots. So you can schedule a chat with one of the recruiters specifically. So you have a specific time to visit that booth and you can chat so that we can be prepared to answer any questions that you may have. And then you can do it that way so that you can make the most efficient use of your time at this event tomorrow.
That is wonderful information. And yes, the booths are ready. Go in there, do your research. That's the biggest thing. And make sure that you already know a little bit about that company before you go in to chat. So, and a lot of times you have a little bit of a wait period. So great time to refresh your notes and look all that up for sure. So, I know we were going to, actually, the team has already put in the link to the events page. So if you haven't registered for tomorrow's virtual hiring event, that's really going to be targeting remote jobs and hybrid jobs, please make sure that you go ahead and register. The event will be taking place from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And you will be seeing our panelists there, which will be great. So you'll already know some individuals going in. But you can already prepare in advance before that. So thank you all so much for joining us. In our last 2 minutes, right before we wrap up, I feel like we've gone over some of the strongest suggestions that we have heard from companies, but do any of you have a last minute recommendation or words that you'd like to share with our attendees today before we sign off?
Read through job descriptions thoroughly from top to bottom because you may miss some information that is very needed. And the recruiter may not be available to ask those questions and you may get looked over, so just make sure you read the job descriptions thoroughly.
Thank you. Michelle.
Make sure your resume is focused on the job that you want, and that might require having more than one resume.
Good one.
I have
Rodrigo.
one. Don't spray and pray when you're applying to jobs. Don't apply to 30 jobs at one company, because when a recruiter opens up your name, they're going to see that you applied to 30 different jobs and they're all completely different. It shows that you have no direction on what you want to do. So I don't recommend that.
Sounds good. Sequana, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Oh, I think you're muted.
Just relax. Just relax. Be yourself and just relax. It's okay.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today. I have really enjoyed this conversation, spending time with you all. Once again, you have a gift. These 4 panelists have very kindly shared multiple links, multiple resources, and their email address. So before we close up in the next minute, please go into the chat, make note of it, reach back out to them. Definitely always send a thank you to begin with, and then start that conversation after you've done your research. But stay true to you. You've got this. Take a deep breath, do that research, get out there, and we wish you all the best. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great day. Bye.